I wrote you a song, and I was kind of hoping that I could show it to you because I worked really, really hard on it.
Yo, I wrote this poem for the literature club. I should've known with these hoes I'd be killing them with love, because I sold my only soul, then filling it with lust. Now I've got options. Well, Sayori paves the story, wait, I'm worried cause she's late like every morning. Made me join in this by cornering me. And then there's Yuri, alluring her with my wording. She nervously reassuring me I'm floating away her insecurity. The Natsuki has got to speak obnoxiously with honesty. Kawaii thoughts are real, so I forgot she's mean. And Monica bringing the least amount of drama, but she's out of my league. Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl am I friendly with? And which lady here is just a crazy bitch? Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl do I save within? Cause we all know it's a dating sim.
So, you know how I've been like practicing piano and stuff? And not really any good at it yet, like at all.
Yo, try to be polite to women, but they be fighting for my attention. How to decide who I can help with the festival when time is of the essence, and terrified that I'll regret this. Go to the game. Should I make a move? Who has got the greatest boobs? No, this ain't a game for you. If you're still in grade school, reload and break the rules. Is it a dream? Fate is cruel. Yes or no? Save or lose? I'm just trying to say you're cute. Cause I can hear Sayori needs me, feeling all of Yori's breathing. Natsuki, I'm surely reading. Monica be gossiping, cop blocking, dropping hints and arguments and talking shit. She starts to sip tea, cause she's thirsty. Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl am I friendly with? And which lady here is just a crazy bitch? Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl do I save within? Cause we all know it's a dating sim. Cause things are intense, I'm twisting my fingers like we are not friends. Just playing pretend, I'm sending a text to chill with the fest. If it was secrets, but who's obsessed? Surrounded by girls, but they're feeding me stress. Just get in my bed, am I in a head? I should've joined the anime club instead. Can you hear the sound of my heart? Cause I can bring you out of the dark. Tell me what you feel, and how did it start? Bow to get laid. You stand in the friend zone, I don't give a damn if you depressed though. Cause I'm one man trying to settle, and this ain't a Nintendo. Do you bear an agenda? Are you aware of getting meta? I don't know where I'll end up when she shares a confession. Error, error. Must have been too sentimental with her. Error, error. Must have let it get the best of her. Error, error. Can I make the one exception with her? Cause the sweetest end tastes bitter. Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl am I friendly with? And which lady here is just a crazy bitch? Which one do I make my waifu? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which girl do I save within? Cause we all know it's a dating sim. Which one do I make my waifu? And which one's gonna break the script? Which one's gonna like my haiku? And which lady here is just a crazy bitch? Which one do I make my waifu? Which girl to erase within? Which one's gonna like my haiku? Cause we all know it's a dating sim.